Hi, and welcome back to Yairn. This is my monthly roundup of everything that I've made this month. This month will be a little bit different than my previous videos. I traveled to California this month and I didn't get a huge amount of work done on my projects. So I will share what I was able to get done and then also talk a little bit about my time I spent in California previously and a program that I did there that has really impacted my work now. And so, yeah, let's first, I guess, talk about what I was able to complete, or I shouldn't say complete, but make progress on. Um, I feel like this cardigan has just been taking such a long time, and I see other podcast knitters talk about these projects, and it just seems like month to month they're able to complete so much more than me. So I don't know if because I'm still quite new with knitting, if I'm just really slow or if I'm always kind of jumping between things. So maybe I'm not focusing so much on an individual project. I'm not quite sure, but I am making progress. It is, actually starting to kind of look like a garment, which is exciting. So this is the front. You can see I am starting to get some length. It's not as long as I'd like it to be, but we're maybe, I would say, a good 4 inches away from where I want to be. So I'll just see if I can sit up. But so I think I'd want to be closer to the bottom of this sweater. So I've still got a ways to go. But I think it's looking beautiful. I'm really happy with the way that the fabric is turning out. I'll see if I can get that to focus in. And yeah, I still really love the color. I love the design. It's incredibly soft. So I'm excited about the finished project. I'm just feeling like there's a lot still to be done. So I've got the length left to do. And then I have the sleeves. I have the button band. That's it really, but it still does feel like I'm maybe halfway there or not even halfway there. So we'll see how I feel about it next month. I'm going to keep chugging along and making progress. And hopefully the sleeves will go quicker. But I would really love to get this finished, especially in time for Christmas. I think it's going to be a beautiful sweater to wear to a Christmas party or, yeah, just a day with family. So that's that. The next thing I made a little bit of progress on was, whoops, I just dropped all of them on the floor. 1 second. Okay. My squares for my Battenberg blanket. So I have, roughly, I don't know, 15 or so done. But this has been great. This has been really like quick and easy. I can take my dog out and play fetch with him and knit up or crochet up 3 or so of these at a time. So yeah, so just talk quickly about these. All of the yarn that I'm using is scrap yarn. So this is actually 2 strands of merino held double. And then this is a single strand. And this, obviously, you can see the sizes are slightly different. So when I block this, I'm going to have more of an open weave. So I'm kind of learning as I'm going how to adjust my crochet hook size and whether or not to hold it double in order to get as close as possible to the in size that I want. But then also the kind of fluffiness or feel. I don't know if you'll be able to see. This is with a single strand of 2-ply, and this is with a double strand. And I think that the overall feel of this one is better to me for the blanket. This, I don't know what this is. It was a scrap that I had from quite a long time ago. Absolutely love the colors. It feels possibly like a cotton wool blend, and it just came up so squishy and nice. So this is kind of like the gold standard for what I'm looking to achieve in all the different squares. And there are a lot of YouTube videos online of how to make these squares. So it's really, really easy. If you have scrap yarn and you want to do something interesting and fun with it, I would recommend this project. I've been laying out the squares on the table and they just look really cute together. And I think it's going to be a gorgeous little blanket. And then the other thing I would say is I do see YouTube videos where they crochet the squares and then they crochet them together as they go. And I've chosen not to do that method because I want to block all my squares to get them looking. I'll just force my little fingers through here just so you can see. But I want to block all my squares to give them more of a straight rectilinear look before I stitch them together. I think if you were just to stitch these together, you would kind of end up with a wonky finish. It wouldn't look as clean and as beautiful as the images that I've seen online. So that's my plan. My plan is to just continue to make these squares out of all my scrap yarn. I'm not going to be too fussy about the colors because I think the more colors, the better, and the more beautiful it will be with the more colors. So I'm not going to be too precious about that. I'm just going to pick up, for example, random bits of yarn. I might even use some of this, which is the kind of hand spun yarn that I had from the very first episode. That would produce a really beautiful square. And I'm just going to carry on making these cute little squares. And hopefully that will be something in October's video I can share more progress on, since it is quite easy to kind of pick this up anywhere I am and continue to make them. So yes, that is everything that I have done this month. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about briefly, because I was in California and I was doing a lot of crafting there, was actually a program I took part in just at the tail end of the pandemic. And it was an outdoor course at a place called Windrush Farm. And it was called Fleece to Garment. And it was 4 or 5 different days where we went for a half day to a full day. And we learned the entire process from shearing all the way through to creating a garment. And it was an incredible course. And if you're in California and you're interested in this type of thing, then I highly recommend it. It was so fun. And Nini, who runs the program, is a legend. She'll introduce you to her sheep, who are absolutely lovely, and they're very kind of domesticated and love her and come running up to her like they're puppy dogs. But it was a really fun course, and it was around the time that we were kind of traveling back and forth from Scotland to California. So I'd been in Scotland a fair amount, and I had taken a null binding course, which is, most people know, or sorry if you don't know it, but it's a kind of ancient form of wool binding with a needle, and you do a similar action to crochet where you're weaving a needle through. I'll maybe put a little diagram on the screen so you can get an idea of what that is. But as I was going through the sheep to garment class, it was my goal to make a garment with this null binding technique. I didn't exactly get there. I kind of did part of it with it, but I ended up making this really interesting kind of wrap that I would say was very unique, not necessarily a wearable garment, but more of an art piece. And yeah, it was just a super fun course. We learned so much. We didn't actually do the shearing, but we got to watch the shearing take place. And then we all took home a full fleece directly, the ones we just saw being sheared. They weren't cleaned or washed. We had to learn that whole process. So we had to scour the fleeces. You had to basically do a hand cleaning. So get any of the bits that were really like not usable and just chuck those away. And then what was remaining, you did a kind of series of rinses and washes, delicate. You had to make sure that you weren't doing any type of felting with the material so that then you could go and do the carding. So we learned about how to then card the wool and then spin the wool. So that was the first time I had ever done any spinning, and I really loved it. It was meditative. It was exactly what I needed at that time, just to have a hobby that was something that was really interesting to me and kind of connecting back to my culture, and things that I know my ancestors probably would have been doing, and especially my Scottish ancestors. So, yeah, it was really fun. I really recommend the course or anything like it. I know that here in Scotland, Sophie from Forest and Dot does do a similar 1-day course. So if you are interested in that, I would look that up. I'll link that in my description. But the best part of the course was that at the end, so everyone kind of spoke about their projects, what they were going to do. I think there was maybe 10, 11 people in the course, and everyone's projects were so vastly different. One woman did a woven piece. I think it was some kind of jacket or a vest. I can't quite remember, but it was gorgeous. I was completely blown away that she had made that out of the wool that she had spun from our course. Some people made, beautiful Fair Isle sweaters, things that this is before I even really picked up knitting again after many years. So I was just blown away by what was created. And if I can find any images of that, I will put that up. But it was a very memorable experience. So yeah, so I wanted to mention that because being back in California kind of reminded me of that experience and how it's informed what I'm doing now and my time here in Scotland. So that is all I have to share for today. It's a little bit of a shorter video, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you next month. Thank you. Bye.